The Millennial Presentation by Eric Dominic, Shannon Harris, Hannah Hart, and Kyle Herndon. This presentation will outline a recommended set of HR policies and guidelines that organizations should consider to attract and retain candidate employees from the net generation to their companies. The net gen has come of age in the workforce. Management can refuse to adapt to the net gen, sticking to their old hierarchies, and refuse the generational firewall that separates managers from the newly hired. But employers can learn from the net gen, their mindset, and their tools of collaboration. Companies should embrace the net generation's approach to work. Here we will present proposed HR policies centered on the 8 generational norms of freedom, customization, scrutiny, integrity, collaboration, entertainment, speed, and innovation. These policies are intended to attract, retain, and harness the power of the net gen. The net generation culture and behavior is the new culture of work and the new enterprise. Companies are forced to rethink authority, recruitment, and training. The net gen wants a good leader that provides feedback and authentic praise. Authority figures will lead employees but also learn from the net gen in areas. Recruitment advertising does not attract the net gen. Companies should use social networks to influence young people to apply to their company. Traditional training programs separate from work do not impact employees as one that strengthen all learning components of all jobs. It should be interactive for employees to keep them engaged. The first of the 8 net gen norms that Don Tapscott describes is freedom. We have learned from his book, Grown Up Digital, that the net generation challenges the traditional 9-to-5 work schedule. Their work, home, and social lives are much more integrated than generations before them. While this new generation entering the workforce may not expect their desire for a more flexible work schedule to be accommodated immediately, it will be a prudent retention effort to build in a policy that can incorporate the net generation's desire for freedom after a reasonable probationary period. We can look to companies like Intel, Google, and Best Buy to provide the example. Many of Intel's employees do telework, but their office environment also offers perks such as workout facilities, dry cleaning, and a food court. Google asks its engineers to spend a quarter of their time working on projects that interest them, which could lead to new business opportunities. Best Buy has implemented a results-only environment with their corporate employees, which means that they can do work wherever they want, whenever they want, and as long as they get the job done. While we want to create guidelines and policies that incorporate the newest generation entering the workforce, we also do not want to forget the existing workforce and how new policies might impact them. The net generation prefers to have a lot of choices, but the baby boomers can tend to find this abundance overwhelming. The following attendance policy will allow for both generations to have the opportunity for a flexible work schedule while also offering them the opportunity to work a more traditional schedule in an office environment. The attendance policy reads as follows. Salaried employees are expected to report to work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. during their first 90 days to a flex office space. After a probationary period, employees will make the decision with their supervisor to either 1. Move into a permanent space with the expectation of an 8-hour workday schedule, or 2. Do telework with the option to use the flex workspace at their leisure so long as specific goals are met. The second of the Gen norms is customization. The freedom norm helped us to address the when and where aspect of a job. The customization norm can help us to address the what and how. In traditional job descriptions, employees sharing the same title would also share the same job description. Tapscott alludes to the fact that this sort of standardization may be too confining for the net generation, who is used to customizing everything in their world. Almost all organizations have a performance review policy that addresses how their employees are measuring up against their job description. Using an existing performance review policy with some minor adjustments that address an ability to customize based on an employee's strengths would appeal to the net generation's need to adapt their job description to suit their personal strengths. The performance management policy reads as follows. Employees will review their job descriptions with their supervisor every quarter. Supervisors will assess strengths, and if the supervisor and employee agree to a change in the job description that would benefit the best interest of the company and the employee, a job description change request will be submitted. Scrutiny in the workforce is something that net genners are not afraid to speak out on. Don Tapscott has deemed the net generation, quote, the new scrutinizers, end quote. This puts a lot of pressure on employers to be as transparent as possible. This means that companies should show that their culture is honest and that they have good social practices. It has been found that 83% of net genners know what they want and how much it will cost before they enter a store to buy a product. This is because they do research online about items they want to buy before buying it. The InGenera study found that 40% of net genners would abandon a product they love if they discovered that a company had suspect social practices. Additionally, 60% of net genners will Google a future employer and research their culture before accepting a job. Net genners want to feel as comfortable as possible at work, and if they feel like something needs to be said about the work environment, they want someone that they can go talk to about it. Future employers should implement policies so that employees can speak their minds about problems they are experiencing at work. Having a scrutiny policy would keep complaints about work internal, instead of prompting someone to take matters to yourcompanysucks.com. This will keep things within the company, plus make employees happier at work because they will have that comfort of knowing that they can express themselves about situations if they need to. More traditional employees would be for these changes in policy because they tend to not be as outspoken as the net generation at work. This could lead to the traditional employees speaking up about problems that they've had for months or even years at work, which would make them better employees in the workforce. Integrity is something that everyone expects of his or her employer, but the net genners take it to a different level. Net genners have grown up in a time where information about companies and their ethics are readily available on the internet, and to some extent on television. A good example of a company that is known to have the utmost integrity is Apple. Apple has formed a loyal trust amongst its customers because any time that there is a problem with one of their products, they immediately take care of it. Apple is a large employer as well. Anytime you visit a retail store, you rarely see an employee that is not enjoying their job. Apple's employees are happy doing what they do. Employers would assure new employees that integrity is a core value of their company, and ask the new employee to enter a contractual obligation so that the same high integrity within the company is maintained. Additionally, net genners are aware that people with disabilities are still capable of working and making a living like normal people. They want to see that inclusion in the workforce if possible. This means that no discrimination should happen against employees with disabilities if they are capable of doing the same amount of work as people without disabilities. Accurate financial reporting should be done to ensure that nothing is hidden within the company. Events within the company should also be well documented to keep all stakeholders up to date with what is happening within the company. It is imperative for companies to have good integrity due to how fast complaints spread through the internet. To deal with scrutiny from the net gen, a company's moral ethics and integrity must be very polished. The net generation wants to be challenged. They want to achieve something as a team. Collaboration allows different types of minds with certain skills to solve one problem or dilemma. They also want to develop personal relationships in the process. Companies can implement a social collaboration platform to achieve a formal workspace as well as a social workspace millennials prefer. Team members can host meetings, training events, and customer briefings in one convenient online location. Using technological tools for communicating, storing, and managing shared data for distributed work is not new. What is new is the extension of those capabilities to cheaper and more ubiquitous devices. They help workers collaborate asynchronously, that is, not simultaneously with others, to check in and respond to message threads and document changes as their schedules allow. This is becoming almost essential as teams become more distributed across multiple time zones, as well as for busy workers juggling multiple teams and projects. Users are also able to access content and interact with members 24/7. Tools are being added: video and audio conferencing, instant messaging, data sharing, review of documents and presentations. Members also have the ability to work together using a whiteboard in this platform. Collaborative technologies are becoming easier to use as they are starting to converge with standard platforms like Google or Microsoft Office. This allows for easier document sharing, email, and scheduling. Eventually, it will become part of everyday technology on a user's desktop. While collaborative technology is fine for formal exchanges, It does not always allow for employees to get to know their colleagues on a personal level. Adding social media to this collaborative platform allows for the creation and exchange of generated content like blogs, forums, pictures, videos, wall postings, etc. This is much more useful and it relies on the members to generate the content. This will connect employees to each other and develop personal relationships, which lead to more effective work. In a 2008 survey, results revealed that 54% of Net Generation rated themselves as having the highest level of technological expertise among their coworkers. When asked if their bosses had an equivalent level of expertise, only 28% of those surveyed answered yes. Young adults are now becoming the accepted authorities on all things technology related. Management needs to encourage all employees to work together and learn from their colleagues, regardless of title or position. The implementation of a social collaboration platform in the workplace reinforces this encouragement. Employees have the space to exchange formally but also interact socially. It overcomes the barriers of title and position as colleagues develop personal, intimate relationships. Other generations believe there is a time for work and a time for fun, but the Net generation believes that work and fun should be one. This attracts Net Genners to companies that have a recreation area or a stress-free area. 2 out of the 3 Net Genners feel that working and having fun can and should be the same thing. They want the work itself to be enjoyable and a culture that is designed to help employees relax into productivity, not stress into it. It creates an environment that boosts morale and creativity. A recreation area allows employees in the office to de-stress and improve their productivity. Work-related stress is one of the hardest to avoid because many people feel the factors that cause it are outside of their control. It is becoming increasingly important for their staff to de-stress while at work as it is to help them relax and return to the task at hand with a fresher mind. The connection between one's health and one's stress level is undisputed. If staff is unhealthy, companies lose manpower days and productivity. A recreation area provides a working environment that gave people opportunities to unwind and relax. This leads toward keeping work-related stress at bay. Employers should also allow employees to check social media accounts. This creates an atmosphere where employees are motivated and happy people. The other generations work in a more formal atmosphere where they punch in and out. The times have changed and so much the environment to accompany the largest segment of the working population. The workplace is more informal. They do not monitor how and where they spend their time as long as they manage their own responsibilities and time. A recreation area boosts staff productivity and keeps employees stress-free. Millennials are accustomed to everything being fast. Technology they use daily provides real-time and near real-time communication. They don't feel anything should take longer than absolutely necessary. In the workplace, they also desire more frequent and timely feedback on their performance. Most companies have employees establish annual objectives at the beginning of the year and management assesses their performance at the end of the year. Firms could set shorter-term goals and for their long-term objectives set specific milestones to strive for. Goals would have to be achievable but challenging enough to test the skill and or determination of the employee. They should also be relevant to the company's mission. Progress could be reviewed quarterly. Employees that achieve goals and milestones consistently should be rewarded in a timely fashion. The reward could be a raise or a prize or a promotion. Net Genners also understand that progress can be slowed when they have to compensate for others who aren't pulling their own weight. Management should identify and counsel employees who consistently miss goals. If there is no indication of improvement over the next 2 reviews, they should be let go, to avoid distracting or upsetting those performing well, and to avoid the loss of key talent. NetGen employees appreciate the latest and greatest of everything. They're naturally in tune with what is hot in the market. Companies can use this to their advantage by providing employees an outlet to create and innovate. If a company were to pay all employees for just 4 hours of each week to work on new or revised products, services, or processes, they can help the company stay on the leading edge of their business. Employees could evaluate each other's innovations and management could provide prizes and rewards for the ideas brought to fruition. To implement this plan, management must first ensure the firm's annual budget includes the funding for it. Employees can work on something they feel will benefit the company, giving them both a creative outlet and a sense of ownership. The traditional workforce would likely not be accustomed to this type of an approach to development, but it may prove to be something they grow to truly appreciate. Those who have been around for a while are very familiar with how things have been run and what approaches have been taken towards product development for a long time, and may have a wealth of ideas they've just not had the opportunity to pursue. The HR policies and guidelines developed around the generational norms will revolutionize the workplace for the better. The power of the NetGen will create more work processes, systems, and collaborative working models. It will also give employers a competitive advantage to other companies because the NetGen will want to work in the new culture of work. Older employees focus on working from 9 to 5 in a traditional hierarchy. It will take time to adjust to the new policies, but these changes will help the new and older employees. They will also have to adjust to learning from the NetGen. They are a great resource as the older employees are a resource to the younger employees. Corporations are on the brink of a war for talent. The NetGen is the majority of the workforce now. Employers need to attract and retain the brightest and best of talent. They need these policies and guidelines for a comprehensive talent strategy. Managing talent today is about creating opportunities, enhancing competitiveness, reducing costs, and increasing profits and success. The rise in the number of NetGen in the workforce will eventually shape and direct some of the most successful companies. The NetGen creates a new way of doing business.